Hello there, savvy viewers. We're diving into some important legal terms today. It's a world that can seem confusing, even daunting, but we're here to make it simple. We're tackling everything from federal crimes to minor infractions, and trust us, this is knowledge you want to have, so why not share and subscribe to our channel. We're not just making sense of legal jargon, we're also your go-to for employment wisdom. So, buckle up as we embark on this enlightening journey through the world of legal jargon. First up on our legal tour, federal crimes. But what exactly does this term mean? Dive into the world of federal crimes with us. These are offenses that violate U.S. federal law, not to be confused with state crimes, which are offenses that break the laws of the individual state where they occur. Now you might be wondering, what's the difference? Well, it's all about jurisdiction, or who has the authority to prosecute these crimes. Federal crimes are prosecuted by federal courts, under the U.S. Attorney's Office, while state crimes are handled by state courts. Now, let's unpack the kinds of offenses that are considered federal crimes. These can range from white-collar crimes like fraud or embezzlement, to more violent acts such as terrorism or human trafficking. Additionally, any crime that happens on federal property or involves federal officers can be a federal crime. So if you commit a robbery on a military base, that's a federal crime, even though robbery is typically a state crime. It's also worth noting that some crimes can be both federal and state crimes. For instance, if a drug trafficking operation crosses state lines, it becomes a federal crime because it involves more than one state. However, if the operation is confined within one state, it's usually a state crime. Federal crimes are not to be taken lightly. They often carry harsh penalties, including hefty fines and lengthy prison sentences. And remember, federal prisons are no walk in the park. They're designed to house individuals who have committed serious offenses, so they're often more secure and less comfortable than state prisons. But here's a silver lining. Federal crimes are relatively rare. The majority of crimes committed in the US are state crimes, not federal. So while it's important to understand federal crimes, keep in mind that they represent just a slice of the overall crime pie. So, in a nutshell, federal crimes are serious offenses that break federal laws, and they're prosecuted by federal courts. Quite a mouthful, isn't it? Next stop on our legal journey, felonies. Sounds serious, doesn't it? Well, that's because it is. Felonies, folks, are the heavy hitters of the crime world. They're the big leagues, the major offenses. To put it in plain language, a felony is a crime that is considered so severe it's typically punishable by imprisonment for more than a year or even by death. Now, let's dive a bit deeper. Felonies cover a wide range of crimes, but they all share that characteristic of severity. We're talking about actions like murder, rape, kidnapping, arson, or grand theft. These aren't your everyday parking tickets or speeding fines. Felonies involve serious harm to others or significant property damage. But it's not just the crime itself that makes a felony, it's also about the punishment. Felonies typically come with heavy penalties. Someone convicted of a felony might face a long prison sentence, hefty fines, or even the death penalty in some jurisdictions. And the consequences don't stop there. A felony conviction can also lead to loss of certain civil rights, like the right to vote or to own a firearm. To give you a real-world example, let's consider a person found guilty of armed robbery. This is a serious crime involving violence and theft, so it's classified as a felony. The perpetrator could end up in prison for many years, pay substantial fines, and lose some of their civil rights. So when we talk about felonies, we're talking about significant crimes with serious consequences. It's not a term to be taken lightly, it's a label that carries a heavy weight, both in terms of the crime committed and the punishment that follows. And remember, the classification of crimes can vary from place to place. What's considered a felony in one state or country might not be in another. It's always crucial to understand the laws of the land where you live or travel. So remember, a felony is a severe crime that can lead to heavy penalties. It's certainly not something you'd want on your record. Moving along, we find ourselves facing misdemeanors. Now, these are a little less intimidating than felonies, but they're still no joke. Misdemeanors are crimes that are less serious than felonies, but they still hold a weight that we can't disregard. You see, a misdemeanor is a criminal offense that carries a penalty of up to 1 year in jail. It's a notch below a felony, yet a step above a mere infraction. Now let's dive a bit deeper into the types of offenses that fall under misdemeanors. They're quite diverse, ranging from petty theft to simple assault, disorderly conduct to public intoxication. Think about someone shoplifting a candy bar or someone getting into a bar brawl. These are actions that, while not as severe as a felony, still disrupt the social order and therefore are subject to penalties. And speaking of penalties, misdemeanors, though less severe, can still pack a punch. If found guilty, one could face fines that can reach up to a few $1,000s, probation, community service, or even jail time. Yes, jail time. While it's typically less than a year, it's still a possibility that hangs over the head of anyone charged with a misdemeanor. But remember, just like with felonies, the consequences of a misdemeanor can extend beyond the immediate penalties. Having a misdemeanor on your record can impact your life in various ways, from finding a job to securing a loan. It's not something to shrug off lightly, so let's take a moment to reflect on this. Misdemeanors might not carry the same weight as felonies, but they're far from trivial. They represent a violation of societal norms and laws, and as such, they come with consequences. In the grand scheme of things, it's crucial to understand the different levels of criminal offenses, and misdemeanors form an important part of this spectrum. They remind us that every action has a reaction, every cause an effect. So misdemeanors are less serious than felonies, but they still carry potential penalties. Remember, every law matters. Finally, we come to minor infractions. These might sound harmless, but even small mistakes can have consequences. So, what exactly are minor infractions? They're essentially minor violations of the law, typically punishable by fines rather than jail time. Picture someone being ticketed for jaywalking or littering. These are classic examples of minor infractions. Now, while the penalties for these infractions are usually less severe than for felonies or misdemeanors, they're not to be taken lightly. Why? Because they can still have ripple effects in your life. For instance, accumulating too many traffic infractions could lead to your driver's license being suspended. Remember, every rule, every law, no matter how insignificant it may seem, is there for a reason. Disregarding them, even the seemingly minor ones, can lead to complications down the line. So, minor infractions might seem little, but they're still significant. It's always better to stay on the right side of the law, no matter how small the issue. Well, that's quite a bit of information we've covered, isn't it? We've journeyed through the intricate landscape of criminal cases, from the nationwide reach of federal crimes, the serious impact of felonies, to the subtleties of misdemeanors, and the seemingly insignificant yet consequential minor infractions. It's crucial to grasp these concepts as they shape our understanding of law and justice. Share this wisdom with those around you. Remember, knowledge is power. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more enlightening videos. Stay savvy, folks.